We have everyone, so it's 6:59. I'll call this meeting of the Public Library Board to order. I need to preface that my voice has been going in and out all evening, so hopefully it keeps going in and out. Call for order.
All right, roll call. Chair Marie Hotta.
Here.
Vice Chair Andy Sakaris.
Here.
Maggie Burns.
Here.
Scott Gilbert.
Here.
Edie Hughes.
Here.
Thank you. Dina Phelps.
Here.
Amy Wilson.
Here.
City Council Member Chelsea Noonenkamp.
Present.
Excused, we have Bryn Dunning and Inglewood School Liaison Dwayne Tucker. Staff, we have Director Christina Underhill and Library and Cultural Arts Manager Bethany Lafferty. Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Okay.
All opposed? No public comment.
The library will close in 30 minutes. The public computers will shut down in 20
The
minutes.
public comments.
Doors will close in 15 minutes.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go to the report.
All right. So statistical report, nothing really outstanding here. Definitely the low number of days of service because of Sunday closures, but we also had closures due to the Christmas holiday and New Year's holiday. So closed a total of like 7 days, I guess, 8 days. Questions answered this, for the month of December was predominantly, adult questions. We're still, even though we're trying to make sure we indicate the youth questions, I think we just don't get nearly as many, or they're just kind of lumped in with adults asking questions for themselves, and then maybe they ask questions about things for their kids, and just kind of lump them all together. So still predominantly, interfacing with adults at our service desks. Volunteer hours dropped off a little bit, which they're probably gonna drop a little bit more because we recently hired one of our volunteers. So she won't be volunteering every week, but the work she had been doing as a volunteer, we were rolling into her job duties as a library associate. So that will continue. Her name is Hannah. She was doing our technology assist program every Tuesday, so that will be part of her regular work duties, and so we won't have a volunteer doing that right now. So those will drop a little bit. We'll just have 2 active volunteers with the hope for, focusing on trying to build a little bit more volunteers through the year. Programming was pretty good. I wanted to just highlight some of the children's things. For the teens in particular, the outreach stuff was, as I mentioned last month, they started going to the middle school and the high school. And so meeting at their school clubs each week has been really successful. For the middle schools, they're seeing anywhere from 10 to 15 students each time. And then for high school, 3 to 7 students. And then the youth services team also co-hosted a community dinner with Inglewood Public Schools at the beginning of December in the community room. And that was an interesting event for them to participate in, and they did sign up a few people and check out materials from it. And then they also participated in all formats of the Holiday Express. So those were the outreach events that the children's team participated in December. Not too many incidents in December. A lot of them were just other things, just random stuff that we had to just take care of. So nothing too outlandish, but like, calling for medical or, MRU for people that are, especially during December, because we have that really cold time. And so people, we were calling for like bus passes and things like that to help people out. So nothing super bad, or anything like that, but, we do have our new part-time security person hired that started last week, so that's definitely helping out on the weekends.
I'm curious about a couple of things that just really swung. I'm wondering if they're just different ways of counting or something. So like the Facebook reach, being like half, well, a little less than half what it was a year ago.
Yeah.
Is that because, are you asking the staff to update the page?
Yeah, we haven't really been doing any posting so much. We're trying to put the events out there, for programs and stuff, so like that's getting posted. And then Kimberly's still continuing to do her virtual story time on Wednesday evenings. But that's about it right now. So as we have, new staff coming on board, we're also trying to work with the communications team to find out what kind of support they can give us and what would be the best way to work with them so that we can have some kind of original posting, that's not just about programming.
Yeah.
But just kind of developing kind of, engagement with people in the library and stuff like that. So, we're working on trying to assign those duties to some of the associates. That's definitely kind of on the horizon to address.
Yeah.
But mostly it's been just, like, we're having some reach because we're putting the events out there,
Right.
but there's not really that much more posting at this time.
Were people just in more of a questioning mood as far as questions answered?
Well, remember, the questions, the way they compare to the prior year was they were previously only recording
That's
straight reference questions before, where I wanted to really look at what all the interactions we're having, because we don't always get these kind of like academic type of questions where people are researching things, or they want to find books to put on hold, or they need help with the computers. Like, none of that stuff was previously being recorded. So that's where we kind of, you see that jump, because we started increasing all the interactions and like recording all of them. And then the new software we're using helps us kind of define within that, what are the questions?
Yeah.
It's predominantly computer questions, and then questions regarding their people's accounts.
I think that's a much more accurate way. to
Yeah.
measure.
Yeah, so that's why those look so different. Any other questions on anything in there?
I just want to say this, Kimberly's like, early readers club, the children's program, had like 3 times the amount of kids at it. At the other months, yes. Like she had to print extra materials. They've had 8 and they had about 20
Wow.
December, so. Picking up steam and.
Christina was just saying this morning that Kimberly just recently had her 8-year kind of anniversary as a librarian here and has completed 5,200. Was that what it was, Christina? 5,200 children's programs in that time. Yeah,
She's the best.
so it's pretty amazing. A lot of great children's programs for sure.
Anything else? All right, let's move on to the actions from it.
So there weren't any updates from really of any real significance for the action plan for December. So that's why you don't have a new printout for that, because it's just the same from the month before. But the second part was just to get some feedback from all of you on areas to kind of focus on or grow, or things to strengthen in the coming year for the library, so that we can kind of framework
Yeah.
an action plan.
I would really like, I wish Dwayne was here. I've talked to him about this, but I would like to see better collaboration between the library and the specifically when it comes to like the schools using the library for outreach. So I think that if that is on your radar, hopefully.
Okay.
that could be- Probably also like the development of the volunteer program.
Probably we're all on, it's like hiring and retraining,
Yes, yes, yes,
retention of staff.
Right.
That point was really helpful, from a council perspective. These are probably up next, but some of the new programs that are expected with the changes that are coming. To just get a sense in 2023, like, what have we been able to do that's new or short, where we had, shortcomings? And kind of show like, this is what we were able to do with the resources,
Yeah.
what we could do more, and would be helpful. Looking back.
Yeah, I know one of the things we are pursuing that's sort of inspired by the strategic plan for the city was the development of a collection of non-traditional materials. So we have a few different things that we currently have that don't really have a way to market them and promote them and organize them. So the things that we already have that would be included in this category would include our book club kits. We have the story time bins. Kimberly has been working on homeschooling kits, but again, doesn't really have a vehicle for promoting them and circulating them effectively. And then we also have a collection of board games. And then we have state park passes. What we're also pursuing is getting, passes for various cultural arts and museums. So that's in the works too. We're just kind of right now at a point where we're acquiring, a software package that will allow us to, circulate, especially the passes, because they're kind of like they're not really a physical thing you can really like shelve and stuff like that. So, this, event keeper product will help us do that. People can reserve them for certain weeks in the future and things like that. And same with the book club kids, they could reserve it. Like if you know you want, book XYZ, but you don't want it until April, you can reserve it for April today so that you can get it when you're ready for it. So
That's.
that's one of the things that we're working on for the non-traditional items, and then we'll have the capacity to add different things to it over time, because we'll have the framework for adding different types of stuff into it.
I think one of the things that you brought up, maybe, when we were in our library tour also, was just like, how do people know about this thing?
Yeah.
The fire, like marketing plan, or did you know? What you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and that's the other thing I'm trying to assess is with our like online resources, what is it that's being used? Like, how much are they being used with no promotion? And then kind of, so that we have kind of a baseline from where we're at, and then really trying to promote some of the resources that we have, because like I think the untapped gems that we have is called Learning Express. It has just, things for people that need to get a GED, if they need to study for that, language learnings, brushing up on just like regular, kind of skills like math and science, stuff like that for high schoolers. I think there's also a couple, kind of just like job preparedness things in there for like different, industries and stuff like that, trades and stuff like that. So I feel like we don't promote the existence of that enough. And I also want us to build into our training for the staff is so that staff know these are the online resources we have. So when people are like, oh, I need to get a book to study for the GED, well, if we don't have one, you can request it for them for sure. But also in the meantime, you can check out this website and do this stuff online. So those kind of things too, I'd really like us, if we're gonna be paying for these databases in a package, we need to figure out how to promote their use.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that is a big sort of, and it's been this way since I've joined, so this is not I think as someone that doesn't have kids, who doesn't come to the library as often, how do you attract sort of all the new movements that don't have kids who help pay for the library, you know, we want to sort of build a better sort of base for, quite frankly, a lot of people in this room, right? Like, and if I need a book, I just get it on, you know, Audible book, you know, but I think if you create the content, the nice thing is you, it's easily recyclable, right? Like you can do the Parks Pass once a month, and that is one day of your social media plan for between now and the end of the year. And I think just, you know, the library has to make the commitment now that there's sort of at least a little more stable staffing of like, it has to be a priority to sort of just build good community will with like all the cool things that you do. You do amazing work, and a great example is hearing about 5,200 programs. Like,
Yeah, that should be blasted all.
right? Like, I mean, that's amazing, right? Like, and normally I'm the weird guy that like shares it. I'm like, here's a weird guy. Like, yeah, I share her little story times all the time.
City should be sharing that and promoting that too, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's something that we're hoping with working with communications, is we can understand the most effective ways to leverage our social media, the city is,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like how we can kind of co-promote each other's things.
It's a pretty good sized staff.
Yeah,
A few years ago, one person.
yeah. So we've got some things in the works to work with some of the individuals in communications to help us.
The library will close in 15 minutes. Please bring your items to circulation for checkout at this time. The public restrooms are now closed for the evening. Public computers will shut down in 5 minutes. Please save or print your work at this time. Thank you.
And as you embark on sort of the action plan, I'm now a broken record, but like, I think really making sure that it is really sort of done in a SMART goal, or at least an achievable goal format. Like, when I started, it was like, do better at marketing. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell does that mean? Like, do I just have a sign outside and like, that's better, right? And I think that is probably a really interesting way to like, just make sure that you can sort of track it for your sort of more for your staff performance than us. But, you know, if you're gonna launch a new program, what does success look like, and where you're diverting resources, like, is adult programming bigger bang for the buck than teen, whatever it may be. I think sort of, and some of it is just not measurable because it's like doing God's work, right? Like, I mean, the library is amazing, but I think thinking about sort of just making sure everything as you draft it, you can measure it.
I definitely agree with Amy that the staffing should be in the action plan.
Yeah.
Give it everything. So, especially if we're gonna be able to report back.
Yeah. I would echo whatever the plan looks like. I was looking back at some of my notes over the last year, and a thread really is like, how do we promote these things? How do people know about them? So this is something that probably, wasn't focused on very much, right? You didn't have the manpower to do it, but yeah, it's totally understandable. So we get that. But I think if you put step one of having a goal is like, if you write it down, it makes you more likely to actually achieve that goal. So if in your action plan, there's something about marketing and social media and putting a plan together and having a team in place, even if it's really, really simple to start off with, I think that would be highly beneficial. And even echoing what Amy was saying, staff retention and putting a lot of effort into that. I think I would add to that some sort of training or counseling surrounding the changes that are happening within libraries in general. Like, Chelsea and I were just talking about this, the things that libraries are asked to do are so drastically different. And I think part of that could be a reason why there's been so much turnover and just so much, quite honestly, like turmoil in the library this last year, is because things have just changed so drastically. And I think if you put a little bit of like time and effort into maybe bring someone in to talk about some of those changes and help with some training, and like, hey, we know that these incidents happen every single month, and we know that you deal with them and you know the action steps to deal with them. Let's like talk about what's happening and bring someone in to help facilitate some of those conversations. So that could be something that you also add to that plan too.
And going back to the marketing, we talked about this over the summer after the block party, but I when we went to the block party, we spent a lot of time with the Cultural Arts Commission board, our booth. And it was actually board members there. And I think that if there's a way that you can get us out with you in the community at these outreach events, like.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually that was, one of the things that I'm working on is knowing
Yeah.
well in advance when everything
Yes.
is. So that like my team can plan to come and then, yeah, that can be something saying, if we're gonna be having a booth, if you
Yeah.
wanna stop, come and be there for an hour or whatever. We'll have that more planned because I feel like in the, the latter 6 months of 2022, when there was outreach stuff, I felt like we kind of were scrambling to like get to it.
Yes.
Even though we kind of like knew these things were happening, we just didn't have all the details quickly enough. And so that's something I'm working on is making sure we have that information outreach
Yeah.
more in advance.
That vendor application just came out through the city, so you should have access to all those different events and then choose
Yeah.
which ones you want to go.
Um,
Yeah, we've had the, like city events mini meeting today, so I learned about a bunch of them this morning.
I think along those lines of knowing stuff in advance, it'd be nice to know when you're working on this, identifying what you might need budget for as early as possible, so that like we're not waiting and then, you can say, okay, 100 here, 100 here. like,
Sure.
Have a plan for you.
Okay.
That would be great.
And I think getting us more involved, one, it's just better for us to be more involved,
Yeah.
being on this board. We come here, we do the meeting, go home, we're not as engaged, but I think it also may help with staff burnout as well a little bit.
Yeah.
So they, they work and then they have to stand on the hot pavement all day. Like, I mean, we've all staffed a booth, like throw us out there, like we're happy to do it. But I think as long as we know about it and are trained and we figure out what you want us to say, I think we're all happy to sort of help lighten that load.
That's great.
Also be fun to get to know some of the people that work here.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for letting me volunteer, everyone.
Voluntold.
Anything else that anyone wants to see? I think we could like email.
Yeah, feel free, and I'll what I'll plan to do for the next meeting is just sort of have these ideas kind of more drafted into something more formal, and then, if we need to revise again from there, and then we'll keep moving forward on it.
All right. Let's go to new business. Hold on. Right, oh, the budget. Yeah, money again. Do you need anything?
Not right now.
Thank you. Okay, open. Open. That's where I was.
So update on the city council presentation, which was last Tuesday. It went well. The council has agreed to move forward with the second tier staffing plan, which is 2 full-time librarians and 4 part-time associates. And then, programming and service expansion of $20,000, which we've been approved to move forward on the staffing right now. And then the additional funding will be later once the actual budget supplemental is completed. So right now we're just working on we're gonna start with the part-time associates first because we have an existing job description for those positions, and so we'll get those going. And then we'll be working with human resources and finance to just verify the salary for the full-time positions and create a new job description just for a librarian one, and then we'll get those moving as soon as we can. So that's really exciting. We still have to work out all the details of how we'll schedule people, what their duties will be and things like that specifically. But that's stuff that as we're getting the process going for hiring, that the supervisor team and myself will be starting to work on, so can really hit the ground running when the staff are hired.
You have a goal of when you hope to have all of that staff hired by.
mean, I think I would like it to be before the end of March. Because really, if right now, the way we have it, with the Sunday closures through March, we wouldn't really be able to reopen until we have more people on board. I mean, I think that's why if we get the library associates going a lot quicker, that will help, because we could be able to do that. And then we'll just have to do some additional training with the full-time staff a little bit later. But then we'd be able to hit that target of being reopened on Sundays in April. So that would be my goal, is that like the part-timers, we would maybe have started by the end of February, and then sometime early March, mid-March, the full-timers. Because I don't know for sure how to gauge how long it will take to do the job descriptions and some of that human resources side.
And do you think some of the, potentially the full-timers could come from
Yes.
internally, so.
Then you'll have to
Then
hire more
after
part-timers.
that's
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I'm fairly confident we have 2 existing employees that would be very interested in the full-time positions. We do have 1 part-time employee who already has her library degree, and 1 who will be finishing her library degree within the next 3 to 4 months, so.
I'm just curious, when you say library degree, typically you mean a master's. correct?
Right, it's a master's in library science, yeah.
The library will close in 5 minutes. Please finish your work and head towards the exit. Thank you for visiting.
I'm curious how, like, the one plan had was basically giving 1 library and 1 to each department, right? How will you distribute?
Yeah, and we've kind of been going around and around on this, but I think we're going to stick with the original plan, which is for the librarians, 1 to circulation, 1 to adult services. And we were discussing giving 1 part-time associate to children's, but they really don't feel the need for it in terms of having an extra person to do like the programming and stuff like they have. So we're gonna keep that kind of with the adult services side, or circulation side, and then what we're gonna do also is utilize that the big group of associates to help cover a little bit more, desk coverage in the children's area. Because that's one thing I would like to see is, like a staff member in the children's area at least until 6 PM each evening, and then consistently having somebody there. So we might kind of have like a hybrid-y library associate that does like all 3 desks occasionally. Where Kimberly's team will just do, the programming and the children's desk, when they can, and then we'll have, at least 1 or 2 of the other associates, and we'll do maybe a few hours a week in there just to round it out. So it's a little bit fuller. But that's pretty much how I think we're going to do it. We toyed with the idea of making somebody be one of the librarians being a kind of a hybrid with tech services to do archive work. But we do need enough support on the library floor that it wouldn't actually be advantageous to say this could have archive duties, because the amount of time they'd be available to do it would be so minimal. It doesn't really make it worthwhile to really emphasize that. So we'll still just continue to fit that work in where we can, and then potentially utilize volunteers to help with that workload until we're able to staff it fully.
Once you get the job postings, can you send them to all of us so we can, in the city of Denver, it's painful to do recruitment, and I'm sure it's painful in Inglewood too. But like, the more we can sort of share it out into the community, I think the better. I think it'd be really helpful. But yes, I do not envy you have to do that. At least you're like in a specialized field, but like, Lord, municipalities gonna hire to save their lives right now.
Good. Like, you did really well on the presentation.
Yeah.
That was really.
Thanks. The feedback, like, just the way you reworked the whole thing, it was like beautifully done.
Good.
Yeah.
So that's good, and we're excited to move forward with that, and the staff is really excited. It just feels like it's definitely an uplifting, positive you know, change for the staff and everybody's really looking forward to that, so.
Interesting hearing some of the feedback from my colleagues about, there were a couple of members who were like, I think we could get to the first plan, but maybe not right away. And I mean, I think there was a conversation about that potentially being where the votes would get out. But I'd be interested to see, like, what's a strategic plan for the library? Well, like, also you have the action plan, but on what, how would we get to the first plan? What would we need? What are the metrics that would drive that need? What is like a multi-year kind of thoughtful approach for that the council could bring the council along on that journey? I just something to think about. I know you have so much on your plate right now, but I think there's an appetite there. I think it's how big is that.
Well, and I think one of the ways to get to that too is to demonstrate what we can do with what we're gonna get.
Exactly.
And I really feel like we'll be able to accomplish quite a bit. And then we could, you know, build from there to say, you know, with a little bit more, here, we could get to this next level. So I think that's kind of where we started, is like to demonstrate what we're able to accomplish with this. And then see where we can go from there. Anything, any other questions or that anybody has about the plan? So,
The library and civic center are now closed. Please exit the building. We will reopen tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
Is, I think so many of the members of the board reached out to council and shared not only experiences on the board, but also this is, you know, from that experience where I think you should do it. I thought it was really several of my colleagues reached out to me and they were like, wow, we got all these emails and we got all this outreach, and that really matters. It was really well timed, it was really thoughtfully executed, and I think it was really influential. So, and it's always nice when you send an email to the board to know that it was not.
Yes, thank you. And I was gonna say to everyone, thank you for your advocacy and the extra time you put in the last couple months. Really appreciate it. Yeah. All right.
Thank you for your leadership on it as well and helping us
Yes.
sort of craft it, because I spoke to a number of members of council. I did not attend the meeting, but they were like, oh, I've heard a lot from a lot of the library people. And I'm like, hi, yeah, you're here for me again. But you know, I think you helping sort of frame it and sort of giving us sort of the bumper bowling lanes of sort of like, you know, don't go this way. And, you know, you know, it did not go unnoticed. So thank you.
You weren't sneaky at all. We really appreciate it. Again, that you were on like top tier.
Yeah, I think I said it so much, and one of the things I've learned from this, from my council is learning to ask questions you know the answers to.
Yeah.
And you respond beautifully.
Thanks. All right. News business. So the 2023.
so this is, in your packet, the dates. This is just to like, so that there, because I felt like it wasn't very well planned out last year. I wanted to just make sure we were clear on all the dates that we would be closed for holidays. So this is completely separate from the Sunday issue that we have through March. So all the dates that are on this list are the current dates that the city will be observing holidays. The dates that are highlighted in yellow represent the additional dates that the library would propose to be closed. And they're pretty much always on a Saturday or a Sunday, because like the city itself is not open on those days. And sometimes the holiday falls on the Saturday or Sunday. And so we want to recognize that we'd be closed on that day for the actual holiday. And I think the ones at the Christmas time, the Saturday is just because we would be one day sandwiched in between two
Yeah.
closed days, so it just gets kind of weird.
Yeah.
And that's what we faced this last season too, is like, it's just, we'd have like a random
We'll
day.
have Christmas and New Year's off.
Right, so that's why that would be, the Christmas break and the New Year's Eve would be that 4-day closure again. And then for Veterans Day, it's observed by the city on the Friday, but we would propose to be closed on the actual date.
Yeah.
The other thing that I didn't catch this previously that was brought up to me by a staff member today was whether or not we would close on Easter, which would be a Sunday. I know it's not a holiday per se for the city, but that's because the city's not open on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like I just want to kind of amend that and add in Sunday, April 9th. As a closure too.
I would say that it sounds like perhaps we extend the Sunday closures, like just to not have one Sunday open.
Yeah, no, I agree,
Why don't we
yeah.
just propose that to?
Keep it closer April to April,
April?
second week, the second week.
Yeah,
I
or whatever.
Think about that.
Yeah,
Right.
great.
That would be the 16th.
So it would be, so we would just add in 2 additional Sundays
Yeah.
to the closure, to the Sunday closure, and then
Yeah.
start being open on April 16th.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. I
Yeah.
think you're right.
That gives you more freedom.
Yeah.
They come to,
True.
in
That,
case it's difficult.
okay.
Something else that we talked about,
Yeah.
I think when we started that on like the opening on Sundays, it's just you brought this up, it's kind of like a ramp up, like.
Yeah.
Part of that communication is like, the library's open on Sundays
Yeah.
again, and so maybe you think about like how you build that into that.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
and then I would also say, we talked in November about possibly having the library in service days. And I
Right.
know you're getting more staff, but I still think that there is value in having library in service days. So
Yeah.
if you would like to schedule one of those every quarter, whatever.
Yeah, I was, the way we kind of timed our supervisors meeting, we have the first one this Friday. Cause
Okay.
that's where I wanted to talk with them about how did we want to structure that.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure if we would want to do it every quarter or just do it 3 times a year. So I was gonna bring that to them and kind of get a consensus there and come back with that one at a later time. With the staff in service.
I think with the closures, I fully support this calendar and it, like, I just want to make sure when we open back up on Sundays, like, it's not a fit start again. Like, I have heard from a number of members of the community that are like, the hell's going on with the calendar, right? Like, it's like, oh, we're open for 2 months and then we're not, like, once we're open, and if we have to extend it to the end of April because of, like, let's sort of talk about it, but like, once we're there, we're there.
Yeah.
And like, it can't just be like, oh, this month we can't because of this, like, we have to find a way, and if it's us coming in, helping and volunteering, like, we just gotta make it happen.
Right, right.
I think the erratic thing really threw people, and I think it hurt Sunday attendance when it resumed after being down. And
Yeah. Because it was building back up and then we closed it, so, yeah, I mean, I think, and you know, it just was, I'd rather not have lost all the library staff, so that's fine, but I think, with the COVID closures, and no one knows, and I think one thing to just really, we just go back again to the marketing plan, but like, we really just sort of like, these are now the hours, and,
Yeah.
so.
And I would say pair that with updating those hours on the doors and on the website and on Google.
Oh, yeah.
All of the places. We had to do that with church when we changed locations and service times, and it's more places than you would think, but
Oh,
people
that's
check,
good.
we'll check all of them.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't hurt if we just looked at like aggregator sites that like Macaroni Kids and stuff that pick those up, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
And I know, especially with, I don't know if the hours on the doors that are like printed on the doors are even true anymore, but I'd say a really good first step would just be taking those off. Yeah.
Yeah, they're correct except for the Sunday
Okay.
part.
Got it.
Yeah,
Good. That's a good check.
so I'll find, I don't see why that would be so problematic to pull them off and put them back up. And once we really get
Yeah,
into.
Yeah, once we're.
especially if you're thinking of adjusting that half hour thing,
Yeah.
too.
I don't think that would happen.
Okay.
real quickly.
Okay,
Okay, but I do like the idea of just extending the Sunday to the.
Yep.
Through the 9th, just to
yes.
take care of that. That would make sense, because we'd be open one Sunday. to- Yeah, okay.
If we could do something to like.
Yeah.
Kick it off, I don't know, is there a
Yeah.
band, is there I think that people want to attend in Inglewood. Do we get the farm animals here? Like, what do we will kidnap the goats,
Yeah.
like, you know, but think about how we sort of like make it a thing.
Yeah.
Jump the line.
Yeah.
Our rate grant.
No, thank you.
I will absolutely do a dunk tank.
The track goes all the way. to the
Go
back.
for it. Do we need to vote on these dates or?
With the extending the Sundays,
Okay.
I would.
Okay,
Do you agree?
then I'll move to extend, because of Easter, extend the Sunday closures to reopening on Sundays on April 6th.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Any-
Thank you.
You don't remember me anymore, I bet.
Like concentrating on writing the motion and
Right.
Will you also post these on the website
Yes, we will. Yep. Mhm.
and like make a social post and then pin it on the
Yeah.
top of it? So it's the
Okay.
first things people see.
Okay. Christina.
All right, so, like last year, we developed a long laundry list of potential capital projects, and that's coming around again. And, so the question that finance is asking us is they're gonna do another joint capital meeting, a capital plan meeting, with city council and boards and commissions. And the current date that they're proposing is April 24th. And that could change, but that's the current proposal. So what they're asking us to find out from all of you is, do you want to send the chair or do you all want to be invited to this meeting? Most likely it will be both in person and virtual. So if you want, you can either commit tonight and say, yes, I want to attend and I'll be there in person, or I'll be there virtually, or I'm not interested in attending and we want to send the chair or the chair's designee to this meeting to hear the capital improvement plan process and what's proposed and all of that. So
The only concern is that there could potentially be a new chair.
We have
That's-
elections in
Yes,
February.
March.
okay.
So
It looks like we actually have until February 28th. So let's do this. Tonight, just sit on it. We don't need any response tonight. But think about it. If you're interested in going at the next meeting in February, we'll make that determination so we can give finance numbers of how many people from this board will be there. If that works for all of you.
Great.
And then the other thing, I'll just jump into staff's choice because it has to do with capital improvements. So on the 12th, which is Thursday, Beth and I are meeting with our facility staff to discuss the single entry point to the library and the feasibility study. And so that might be our big capital improvement request. If we have funding to do it this year, we may move forward, and 2024 will be a clean slate. We'll have to come up with some new projects. If we don't have funding, this will be a project for 2024. So just keep that in mind. And again, we're excited to take ideas for capital improvements for the library from all of you. If you see things when you visit other libraries, like, why don't we have this? Bring it to the table. I still have the list from last year that we put together of kind of the fun items that we didn't really focus on because of the challenges the library was facing. So we can keep building that list up and make this library a really great place as we move into the future.
Christina.
Would you send us that list of the things that we talked about last year?
You got it. Yep.
Yeah, and Beth, also on the feasibility study, are you looking only at the new point of entry in between, or are you also considering closing like the north and only?
Correct. That's what that study will do, is look at all options, because we want to add some more security features like emergency exits, what makes sense to add in. I mean, we have our ideas, but we're not experts in facilities and how they flow and all of that. And so that's what we'll use the experts for, to find out, is the east side the best entrance, or does it make sense to close the north entrance and only use the south? And what does that look like? So that we'll cover all those bases as we move through the feasibility study to see what makes the most sense for this library. And there's a lot of movement that's going to happen. If for whatever reason, if we do move forward with the east side, the library is going to have to be reconfigured some on the layout. So that's an additional cost as well. So we're taking everything into consideration. We want to make this library safe. I think the staff, myself, we believe single entrance is the way to go. So we have one point that we can everybody is seen when they walk in. So yeah, we'll definitely look into all options.
Have there been any new discussions around sort of the redevelopment, or is that sort of, I think that's, when we talked about this last year for the folks that I think maybe were part of the process, was like, we were potentially moving and we're like, we probably shouldn't do anything but paint and put new carpet down. And because we want to be good stewards of the city money. And I think thinking about that, we may not be in the space,
We have a visioning session with the Downtown Development Authority on February 11th, which is like our next step in reconsidering what it looks like.
Capital meeting was a hoot last time. So much fun.
Very riveting.
It was great.
It was awesome.
All right. Yeah.
I just wanted to share that the winter reading program started last Thursday. So there's an adult winter reading program. You can sign up with a staff member and you just record 5 books that you read. And then you'll get to choose or get a free book. Yeah. And then there's also like a bonus reading bingo challenge that you can do, and this will go on until March 3rd.
Oh, cool.
So,
I'm gonna
sign
vote.
up.
Can we come do that afterwards? Or do we need to come back there? You learn.
Might have to, because we're closed.
We'll come
But
back.
you can actually do it over the phone.
Oh.
I think because they can sign you up and then you just pick these up in person. I can't remember if there's a sign up online or not, because it's just a Google form. I think you can sign yourself up and then you just have to pick these up in person, is all.
Oh my gosh, I love
No
it.
cheating.
Yeah, right.
So made it really achievable, 5 books.
Yeah, that's great.
Between January and beginning of March, so.
I love it.
Cool.
That's so fun.
Yeah. So I think there's, earlier today, there was 8 or 9 people already signed up in the first week, so.
All right. I just wanted to mention that our February meeting is, like, we're moving on to board members' choice, sorry. The February meeting is currently scheduled on Valentine's Day. So if anyone wants to change that, we can talk about options. I'm totally fine with small Valentine's Day.
I've been married 42 years.
Doesn't care.
Talk about commitment. And it'll only be 42. It will not be 43. I think we should just shift it, just to be safe. For all the forced love.
Would you like to go the week earlier, week later?
Since we were gonna be, what was it we were gonna talk about there, what was the deal? I'm sorry.
The February 28th was the date for
Yeah.
what Christina just
So
So
maybe a week earlier to give us a little,
the thing is that we're not, yeah.
I don't have a strong.
I mean, it's 4 weeks away if we do it on the 7th, because of how January.
Okay.
January
Oh, it's
is a Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
So the 7th would be.
Let's do it.
7th. Okay.
Should we vote?
We need to vote on that.
Let's go ahead and do it since it's changing.
The February meeting to February stuff.
I say.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right.
Okay.
Oops.
Calm down, calm down.
Okay, any other board members' choice?
I would say since we are since we're potentially voting on new chair people in March, if we could put something on the agenda for the February meeting, talking about what those things are. I remember being like very confused by it last year. And if we could just spend like 2 minutes giving some context of like what it is, what it means, how we vote on it, I think that'd be really helpful.
Yes, unfortunately, that will not help our new potentially new member who will start in March, right?
Right.
That always happens.
It will help everyone.
But we could send them some context in
Yeah.
advance.
Sure.
On that note, I would just say, council interviewed candidates for boards and commissions yesterday evening, and we deliberated after the interviews were over. And our initial plan is to reappoint Scott to the board and to add a new member. Her name is Gina Overding. She's been in board for about 11 years. Fierce proponent of the library, a very engaged citizen, and she's going to bring a lot of great energy and life to the board. And we will vote on those appointments on the 23rd. It's not official until then, but that's a government plan.
Anything else from?
No, definitely, I just would echo the comments of the board. I think staff did a really phenomenal job last week. I know it was a lot, it was a really heavy lift, and I'm hopeful about where we got. And I think, it was just wonderful to see so many board members at the meeting. I know it's hard on the night to take time out for stuff like this, and stuff like tonight, and it matters, so.
Anyone else? All right, it is 7:49 and we can adjourn.
Look at us go.
You know, it's not.
Efficiency. We save so much time and going line by line through the, like, the report. I'm like, please just someone read these. For the love of God, just read it before you come. I do not need someone to read these lines by line.
Yeah.